The dashboard camera captured everything. Officer Reeves pointing his gun at Amara Washington's face, her FBI badge clearly visible, the flash of gunfire. Now, as Houston burns with protests, the footage plays on repeat nationwide while Amara fights for her life and career simultaneously. Before we dive into this shocking story of justice and corruption, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you want more true stories about the fight against racial injustice. And give this video a like if you believe everyone deserves equal treatment under the law. Now, let's uncover how a routine traffic stop turned into a national crisis that exposed decades of hidden corruption. The windshield wipers of Amara Washington's sedan struggled against the torrential spring rain pounding Houston that night. The 36-year-old FBI agent squinted through the downpour, her eyes burning from 16 hours of reviewing evidence files. The clock on her dashboard read 11:47 p.m. as she navigated the slick roads toward home, her mind still processing the disturbing pattern of brutality cases she'd uncovered within the Houston Police Department. As one of the few Black female agents assigned to the FBI's Internal Affairs Division, Amara had spent 12 years building a reputation for meticulous investigation and unwavering integrity. Her current case involves several Houston officers suspected of systematically targeting Black civilians during routine stops, with Officer Reeves' name repeatedly appearing in complaints. She massaged her temples, feeling the familiar tension headache that came with these cases. This wasn't just work for Amara, it was personal. Growing up in Houston's Third Ward, she'd witnessed firsthand how differently law enforcement treated her community. It was what drove her to join the Bureau after graduating with honors from Howard University. Make change from within, her father had always said before he passed. The sudden flash of police lights in her rearview mirror pulled Amara from her thoughts. She checked her speedometer, 43 in a 45 zone. Puzzled, she signaled and pulled to the curb, following the protocol she trained countless officers on. Hands visible on the steering wheel, interior lights switched on, calm demeanor. Through her side mirror, she watched a white officer approach, rain plastering his uniform to his frame. Her trained eye caught the name on his badge, Officer Reeves. A chill that had nothing to do with the rain ran through her. She'd spent weeks reviewing complaints against this very officer, studying his body camera footage, interviewing his victims. As Reeves reached her window, Amara rolled it down, exactly 3 inches, enough for communication but maintaining safety. License and registration, he demanded without preamble, his flashlight beam hitting her directly in the eyes. Officer Reeves, I'm going to tell you that I'm an FBI agent and I'm armed with my service weapon. I'm reaching for my credentials now. Something shifted in Reeves' posture. Did I ask who you work for? License and registration first, he snapped, his tone taking on an edge that sent warning signals through Amara's trained instincts. She noticed his hand move to rest on his holster. May I ask why I was pulled over? She asked, maintaining her professional tone while assessing his increasingly hostile demeanor. Broken taillight, Reeves said curtly. Amara knew this was false. She had her car serviced weekly as per Bureau requirements. Sir, with all due respect, I believe you're mistaken. I'm going to reach for my credentials now, she said, moving her right hand slowly toward her purse on the passenger seat. These people always think they're above the law, Reeves muttered under his breath, just loud enough for her to hear the unmistakable racial undertone. Amara froze, her FBI training kicking in to recognize an escalating situation. As she carefully extracted her FBI badge and ID, the leather wallet unfolding to display her credentials, Reeves suddenly drew his weapon. "Gun!" he shouted, despite no weapon being visible. The dashboard camera would later show that Amara's badge was clearly displayed, the gold shield reflecting in the police cruiser's headlights. In that split second, Amara saw his finger move to the trigger, a motion she'd analyzed in countless officer-involved shooting cases. Training and survival instinct merged into a single response. Her right hand moved to her holster, drawing her service weapon as Reeves' gun aimed at her face. 2 shots rang out simultaneously, echoing in the rainy night. Searing pain exploded in Amara's right shoulder as she was thrown back against her seat. Through the haze of shock, she saw Reeves stagger backward, clutching his leg. Her vision began to tunnel, blood soaking through her blouse and suit jacket. The last thing Amara registered was the squawk of Reeves' radio calling for backup and the words, "Officer down!" crackling through the rain-soaked air. The world faded to darkness as sirens wailed in the distance. When consciousness returned, it came in painful fragments. The sterile smell of hospital disinfectant, the rhythmic beep of monitors, the cold metal of handcuffs securing her left wrist to the hospital bed railing. As Amara's vision cleared, she found herself facing three grim-faced Houston PD officers standing at the foot of her bed. Amara Washington, the eldest officer, read from a clipboard, "You're under arrest for the attempted murder of a police officer." The reality of her situation crashed down as pain radiated from her bandaged shoulder. An FBI agent handcuffed to a hospital bed, charged with assaulting the very officer she had been investigating. As the officers continued reading her rights, Amara's mind raced through the implications. Her entire career, her fight for justice within the system, and now her very freedom hung in the balance because of one traffic stop and an officer who'd seen her badge but chose to pull the trigger anyway. "I'll ask you one more time, Agent Washington. Why did you draw your weapon on Officer Reeves?" Detective Sanchez leaned forward, his voice echoing in the small hospital room that had become Amara's interrogation cell. 3 days had passed since the shooting, and the questioning had been relentless. Despite her doctor's protest about her condition, Amara's shoulder throbbed with each heartbeat, the surgical repair of her shattered clavicle still fresh. "I have already stated that I identified myself as a federal agent, displayed my credentials, and only drew my weapon when Officer Reeves aimed his gun at me. Despite clearly seeing my FBI badge," she repeated, her voice steady. Despite the pain medication making her thoughts foggy. "That's not what Officer Reeves' report indicates," Sanchez replied, shuffling through papers. "He states you were belligerent, refused to comply with instructions, and reached for a weapon without warning." The door to her room burst open before Amara could respond. "This interview is over," announced a sharp voice. Marcus Chen, assistant director of the FBI's Houston field office, strode in flanked by two agents in dark suits. "Agent Washington is a federal employee who was assaulted while performing her duties. You have no jurisdiction to interrogate her." Sanchez stood his ground. "She shot a Houston police officer. That gives us plenty of jurisdiction." Chen's expression hardened. "Remove those handcuffs immediately, or I'll have agents here arresting every officer in this room for unlawful detention of a federal agent." The tension in the room crackled as Sanchez weighed his options before finally nodding to an officer who reluctantly unlocked the cuffs. "This isn't over," Sanchez warned as they exited. "Thank you," Amara whispered to Chen once they were alone. "Don't thank me yet," he replied grimly. "This situation is escalating by the hour." He handed her his tablet where a video played, on mute. Amara recognized the dash cam footage from Reeves' patrol car, showing the entire incident from a perfect angle, her badge clearly visible, Reeves drawing first, the simultaneous gunfire. "How did this get out?" she asked, stunned. "A technician in the evidence room leaked it last night. It's everywhere now." Unknown to either of them, that technician, Lamar Jenkins, had watched the footage during routine processing and recognized a pattern he'd seen too many times before. His cousin had been beaten during a traffic stop by officers from the same precinct last year. The case had been buried. With a quick thumb drive transfer and an anonymous upload, Lamar had made sure this incident wouldn't disappear. By morning, the footage had gone viral, shared millions of times across every platform. Number Amara Washington and Badge and Bullets became trending topics nationwide. Cable news channels ran the footage on loop, experts dissecting every frame. The narrative split along predictable lines. Conservative outlets questioned why an FBI agent would resist a routine traffic stop, while progressive channels highlighted the clear visibility of Amara's badge before Reeves drew his pride weapon. In the Houston District Attorney's Office, Catherine Winters watched the footage with calculating eyes. As DA for 7 years, she'd built her career on being tough on crime, while maintaining strong relationships with police unions. Prosecuting Reeves would damage those ties, but the evidence was damning. Still, there were ways to manage this. "Get me everything on Agent Washington's record," she instructed her assistant. I want to know if she's ever had any complaints, disciplinary actions, anything we can use to muddy the waters." Meanwhile, at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., Director James Powell called an emergency press conference. Standing before a forest of microphones, his statement was unequivocal. The FBI stands fully behind Special Agent Amara Washington, who was clearly acting in self-defense after properly identifying herself as a federal agent. We expect a full investigation and appropriate charges against the officer involved. His words sent shockwaves through law enforcement communities nationwide and created an immediate jurisdictional battle between federal and local authorities. Outside Houston Memorial Hospital, what began as a small gathering of protesters swelled hourly. Signs bearing Amara's name and phrases like "badge doesn't make you bulletproof" and "justice for Amara"